Good morning, everybody. My name is Cydney Franklin, and I really appreciate being invited this morning to talk to you about community. I actually really enjoy talking about community and doing things involved with the community, and I think I enjoy it so much because it involves people, and I love people. And I think really in any sense of what you think of community, how you see community, it involves people. And so for me, it invokes a sense of like family or belonging to something, or a group, like a neighborhood, or maybe a religious affiliation, or an ethnic background. All of those kind of invoke a sense of community for me. And I feel really fortunate because I actually work for an organization. My day job involves community. I work for 75 North here in this neighborhood, which is called Highlander. And again, everything that we do is involved with the community. We're a nonprofit community development organization. And Steve's right, I've known Steve for a long time. We are from this neighborhood. I actually grew up down the street on 30th and Lafayette, which is about 7 blocks to the south of us. And so I've been with 75 North now 3.5 years. And so when I was afforded the opportunity to work here, I was just kind of, blew my mind that I would have the opportunity to come here and do things that I thought were impactful to this neighborhood. And so for those of you that don't know, I'll give you a little bit of background about 75 North. Where you're sitting right now, this neighborhood, which is kind of segmented between Prospect Village neighborhood and Highlander neighborhood, was the former site of one of Omaha's largest public housing facilities. It was called Pleasant View Homes. And it was called Pleasant View because the views really are pleasant. If you go up to 31st Street and look down, some of the best views in the city are right here. And Pleasant View was built in the 1950s. I want to say 1953 it opened. And it was about 300 barrack-style units. And like other public housing developments that were going up around the country, Pleasant View was developed to address a housing shortage, a shortage in quality housing around the country. And I'm really fascinated when I spend time researching about the origins of public housing and talking to people that have lived in public housing. My mom actually grew up in one of the most infamous and notorious public housing facilities in the country, Cabrini Green in Chicago. It's where my family's from. And when she talks about growing up there, it's really with a positive experience. She said that the communities there were strong, there were families there, families looked out for each other, and the same thing here. I think when housing projects were developed in the 1940s and the 1950s, for a lot of people, and I literally talked to someone about this yesterday, it was the first time some people had indoor plumbing or running water. And so it really fulfilled a need. But I should also mention that during the same time period in the 1940s and in the 1950s, suburban neighborhoods were being developed on the outskirts of cities. But they were being built primarily for white families, and they excluded black families. Black families were restricted from living there. Actually, developers and the builders of these homes were restricted from the federal government from selling homes to black families. It's really incredible to go and learn this history, and it was through a practice called redlining. The federal government actually wouldn't insure home mortgages to black families to live in these white suburbs. It's fascinating, and had a devastating effect because black families were concentrated into inner city public housing developments. And when you do the research, you see it's almost as if, and you can look around at some existing high density, we have a couple, I think, public housing towers that still exist in Omaha. But in bigger cities, these high density kind of super blocks of public housing were built, and it was almost as if they were designed to fail. They were poorly designed. They often lacked through streets, which is crazy to think about. So they were physically isolating from existing neighborhoods. They weren't really well maintained. And so you hear about generations of families living in public housing. And so when that happens, families get poorer. And so you're lacking an ability to build wealth, or you're limited in your abilities to build wealth. And so families get poorer, so there's not a lot of money being reinvested into the home and the community that you're living in. And so because federal funds were limited as well, these properties went into decline. You'll read about there was almost an expectation of crime And then, of course, you had concentrated poverty, which we all know today does not work. And so in the 1990s and in the 2000s, federal funds started to become available to demolish public housing complexes that were high density and poorly designed in favor of more low density, better designed public housing complexes and facilities that were mixed income. And so when I say mixed income, I'm referring to communities that are designed for folks of lower means and incomes, as well living alongside with families and individuals of more moderate or more moderate means. And so in 2009 and in 2010, the Omaha Housing Authority began the process of demolishing Pleasant View homes. And so the families and the individuals that lived here were relocated to other public housing developments in the city, or they received housing vouchers. And so for those of you that don't know, housing vouchers, it's just a system for eligible individuals. They can take that voucher and go rent an apartment on the private market. And so in 2014, I'm hoping I get all my dates right, in 2014, 75 North purchased the land, the 23 acres that once held Pleasant View homes. And we've subsequently purchased an additional 20 acres to really form the foundation and the basis for our work in this neighborhood, which is to revitalize and strengthen and offer access to affordable housing, offer access to gatherings like what we're doing this morning, green space, venues for kids to play and for adults to learn. And so this is all a result of a lot of people, which is the reason that I love community and the reason that I love people so much is because all of this has happened because of really community-focused and forward-thinking, and if we're honest, brave early investors. It involves actual artists that live across the street or artists that are from this neighborhood that have helped 75 North in this community in this effort to revitalize that involves the city of Omaha, educators, committed parents, and stakeholders. And so if you take a look around, you can see kind of components of what 75 North has done with that foundation of this land that's really centrally located in Omaha. And when OHA tore down the projects, as I said, in 09 and 10, this contiguous parcel of land was available and no for-profit developer in Omaha was interested. And so, as I said, a really forward-thinking and committed investor came in and provided the means for 75 North to not only purchase this land, but to enact a revitalization strategy. And so I'll kind of give the kind of spiel that we always give. So what we've done is we've created a housing development to provide an avenue to bring people back to this neighborhood. So if you just look to the south of us, you're looking at 101 rental units. It's a mix of townhomes, row houses, 1, 2, 3 bedroom apartments that are mixed income in nature. So just over 50% of these units are reserved for people are reserved for families that they can't make over a certain amount. They're subsidized. And then the remaining units are market rate. So you can't make over a certain amount to live in the majority of our units, and the remaining are market rate. So it's mixed income in nature. If you study community development, you'll know that mixed income communities they create opportunities for more stability and strength and vibrancy when you have an economic diversity of incomes. And so we are 100% leased and occupied. We started construction, we broke ground here in 2015. We started vertical construction in 16, and our first residents moved into this site in last year in May of 2017. And so I want to say in March of this year, we were fully occupied, which is which is something, we're really proud of. 75 North, probably the least sexy part of what we do. People really like stuff. They like buildings, and they like, this is all really nice, but probably our most important work is our partnership with Omaha Public Schools. We, in 2015, secured what's called a community partnership agreement with Omaha Public Schools to reconstitute Howard Kennedy Elementary, which for too long had struggled academically. It sits about 5 blocks to the north of us. And so kids weren't receiving what they needed, and they weren't achieving the outcomes that they deserved. And so we secured a partnership with Omaha Public Schools, and so now, so Howard Kennedy's already in school. If any of you have children, you know your kids probably start next Wednesday. Howard Kennedy started 2 days ago. They have a longer school day and a longer school year than other OPS schools. They have a really robust curriculum based in project-based learning. There are intervention labs in literacy, science, and math that were designed for students that are falling behind. Teachers have teacher time. So, you know, maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago when a teacher had a free period, maybe he or she was put on recess duty or cafeteria duty. Now that time is there, so there's more staff to accommodate for that, and they have professional development opportunities unlike they've had before. And so the goal is to get Kennedy on par with the rest of the district, and then to excel beyond that, and to provide opportunities and a foundation for these kids to go on and achieve whatever they want to achieve. Also under construction, we have an early learning center. An early learning center is just an educational facility for, well, what we've designed is for infants, toddlers, and pre-K students. So starting at 6 weeks, families in this community will be able to send their kids to a facility. The idea is to get to send on-track and prepared students to kindergarten, because too often, especially in communities like this, kindergartners are going to school unprepared and unready. And then finally, this, where you're sitting right now, this building is called the Accelerator. And the Accelerator was designed to essentially anchor this neighborhood and be a hub and a source for really anything you can creatively think of. And so again, things like this, you know, if you don't have your high school diploma, we do GED prep here. If English is your, if you don't speak English or it's your second language, you can come here and receive classes for that. There's a reentry program. I didn't realize until a couple years ago that Metro Community College was involved in our state prison system. They do career and college counseling, and when folks get out of prison, they can come to this building and receive services and counseling and enroll in school. We're working to establish a pipeline with UNOA and Creighton University, who's also doing programs in this building, so that a young person that's graduating from Benson or North can maybe take classes at Metro and see, literally visualize a pipeline to a 4-year degree. We know that 4-year degrees aren't for everyone. So in this building, we want to offer technical skill development. We have a partnership with a local tech firm to offer, this is our 4th year of offering a high school summer camp for North Omaha high school students or students that live in North Omaha that teaches them front-end web development and other technical skill development like computer coding, and it's totally free. 75 North fundraises for that. We also have a similar program for adults that in 10 weeks this tech partner can take any of us, like me who can barely check her email, through that 10 weeks, give me the skills to be an entry-level web developer or computer coder. And so the Accelerator was designed to be a multi-tenant, multi-purpose space to essentially accommodate whatever the needs are of the community. And we understand that the needs of this community will continue to change. And so currently today, about 300 individuals live in this new development in those 101 units. And so these are families that are sending their kids to Franklin Elementary and to Howard Kennedy Elementary. These are adults that are taking classes at Metro and are learning life skills at Creighton University, who has a health and wellness clinic on the first floor of this building. It's not a medical clinic, but it's a clinic that offers resources and tools about life skills. You know, we have a partnership with Charles Drew Health Center, which is a federally qualified health center just across the street. And, you know, the information that we receive from them is that this community is plagued with lifestyle diseases like hypertension and diabetes. And so the idea is to provide the tools and really the financial tools, which plays a core role in obviously your lifestyle, but the things that you're putting in your mouth and, you know, how you view food. You know, those are things that we're addressing in this building. And so the next step or the things that we're constantly thinking about in terms of community to kind of bring this home is there's always been a sense of community in this neighborhood. Like, as I said, I grew up right down the street. And, we have figures that have been living and working in this community for decades. We have strong religious institutions. We have men and women that have raised through community-based daycare centers or home-based daycare centers, kids and now adults for generations. And so 75 North's goal for this community is really to just contribute to what already exists here and to grow it, because that's where we'll find our strength. And so over the next 5 years, we'll continue to build. We'll build more homes. We'll start to build for-sale homes so folks can put down roots here. And so that's our goal for this community. And as I said, I really love this work, and I love it because of the people that are involved. And it's only because of those relationships and the people that will take us to the next level.